Hey, what's up guys, aarava here, and welcome back to another episode of my F1 23 My Team Career Mode. This is episode number 28 today for the Monaco Grand Prix in Season 2. If you guys did miss the previous one, then be sure to go check that one out before you see this one at this Spanish Grand Prix. A fiery one with two safety cars and an AI crashing into the pit entry. Really was a very action-packed one at Catalonia as races go around there. And it means that Lando Norris and Carlos Sainz lead the championship joint on 62 points each, and we are a couple of points back in third place. We're fourth in the Constructors' Championship, but it's so tight. We're only 1 point off third place. There's only a good, 30 points separating the top 5 teams in the Constructors, so I think there's going to be a really ferocious battle all season long, especially with the kind of difference of pace. You know, Ferrari are there, Red Bull are maybe getting quicker again because Lando Norris was able to win that race after two pretty poor races for the Red Bull team. Aston Martin have been quick in flashes, and of course we are trying to make the most of our quick car right now before the AI start to catch us. So I think long term, over the course of this season 2, that Constructors battle is just going to keep on going and going. But we come to one of the most challenging Grand Prix weekends of the season now, the Monaco GP, where it's all about Saturday and Sunday. Will be a bit of frustration from all the drivers, I'm sure, in terms of overtaking. But going into this one, we have a bit of an exciting development. You may have clearly seen at the start of the video, we have a special one-off livery version of our main season livery for the Monaco GP. Obviously, we've had this new striking livery with a chrome silver grey base, the electric green with Sprite as the main sponsor on our car. So for the Monaco GP, a one-off. I'm basically going to call this the Zero Sugar livery, as we've now got Sprite Zero Sugar logos all over in black on the electric green, and the chrome silver grey has turned now to a darker black and silver tone. Looks pretty menacing livery. I'm hoping, unlike in real life in Formula 1, the one-off livery can give us a bit of luck here around the Principality. But hopefully we don't need luck, and our car is actually just going to be very good around here, because we've still got a couple of upgrades coming in. A drag reduction update, a major one, which is pretty good. We had to repurchase that, of course, but that's a pretty big upgrade for us, because I think that takes us to the top on the aero side of things. On the chassis, you can see we're still middle of the pack, but things are so tight on that comparison with where the line is, the average line for everyone, that I think maybe even a minor upgrade on the chassis could tip the scales in our favor. But we've still got the best engine on the grid. We now come to Monaco, a place where you need maximum aerodynamics, and we've got the best aero on the grid. So this may be the final big race where we're this good relative to everyone else, because we saw it last season. It does take a couple of races for the AI to wind up with that increased R&D, and I feel like this may be one of the last few races where we're going to enjoy such performance. But we're already bottlenecking ourselves a bit on the chassis department, even though we're, middle of the pack. It's kind of weird to say that we're running out of upgrades. So I went ahead and purchased a $12 million upgrade to get to Spec 3 on the chassis. Rapid progress, Season 2 only, and we're at Spec 3 for an HQ facility. But that's because the entire grid, every team's been upgrading their chassis so much, so we had to go for it, otherwise we're going to slip behind. And with that upgrade, we're probably not going to make another major upgrade for a while. So you saw there, I quickly also purchased another driver perk for boosting our R&D to try and negate the now corrected reduced R&D we've got in the game since the last patch came in. And it's not just the car that's improving as well. Our teammate has been improving. Daniel Ricciardo, things have been going from strength to strength. His focus, I've been noticing, has been going up slowly from 70 up to now like in an 80 to 90 region, and we see an activity timeline there that can boost his focus by 10. So it means going into Monaco, Ricciardo is 95 focus, 96 rated. And Ricciardo, obviously in real life, has always been a big fan of Monaco. So could this be a great weekend for Rick Bobby? He's always gone well in that Red Bull. Can he go well in our car around the Principality? As we bring in upgrades for the engine, ERS comes in. That's going to be a major positive, because we have been running out of battery in a couple of races. Even though we've got the engine power, towards the end of races, we've been on single digits of ERS. It came back to bite us at Spain, where Alonso flew past us because we just didn't have enough battery to defend. So that's also another positive, and it means going into this race weekend, we're still actually continuing this trajectory from Bahrain to Spain to Monaco, pretty much, of improving the car. But like I said, at some point, I think we will slow down, and the other teams will just continue the progress they've been making. But Red Bull match us with the upgrades they've got. It's actually us and Red Bull that are pulling away a little bit from the pack, as Aston Martin fall below Mercedes, it looks like, because they've flatlined from Spain to Monaco, and Mercedes and Haas continue to upgrade. Haas are actually now ahead of McLaren, surprisingly. So, yeah, might have a few interesting different names there in the top 10, although saying that, Monaco is one of those places where no matter what these upgrades say, the driver can make such a difference. So maybe McLaren's drivers will still make the difference to get ahead of Haas. Maybe, you know, Fernando Alonso and Albon can still make that difference for Aston Martin to get ahead of the Mercedes cars. And as we've seen, Red Bull being the best team on the grid the entire way through this season, they've not exactly shown it. Lando won last race, yes. Verstappen won the first race, but they had those 2 races in between where they were horrendous. So it's all to play for here. The driver really can make that last difference of a couple of tenths even if you get close enough to the walls and get brave enough around Monaco. And so with that, we're into Q1 with our brand new Zero Sugar black livery. It really does look like our villain arc here at Monaco. It does, with the livery now, and the villain arc is paying off for us in Q1 as we're in P1 by 0.2 of a second to Carlos Sainz. Ricciardo up there in P6, so things are looking good, but it's overcast, so the track temps are a bit low. Obviously the track will rubber in, but there'll also be some marbles coming into play. And I remember last season I felt quicker in Q1 than I did in Q3 at Monaco. Monaco's one of those ones, I think, on this game where, because of the marbles and the exact line you have to take, sometimes you can go a little bit slower. And I found that in Q2. My turn 1 wasn't as great. I was locking up a little bit. It was hard to rotate the car on the front end. It's still a pretty good first lap there as we go 1-2 initially. Eventually, we'll drop down to second place. Ricciardo down to P9. But, importantly, Ricciardo does get through into Q3, which is great. It's the first time he's done that, I think, all season, which is a massive positive for him at a circuit like this. But Sainz, one of the joint championship leaders, right up there showing Ferrari, still really do have that great pace. But usual suspects, Merc, Red Bull, Aston Martin, all in there now for this top 10 shootout. But again, here in Q3, like was the case in Q2, finding it hard to slow the car down as easily as I could in Q1, and a very stiff front end, narrowly missing a bit of contact, and you saw there was a bit of understeer there at turn 1, and that carries forwards because we're very deep into this chicane, having to really vault the yellow curve to make the corner properly, then through to back, not as committed as I think I was in the previous 2 sessions. The car's still sticking to the road pretty well. It's a flash of purple in the bottom left, very close to the wall though, with a bit of oversteer, and generally I think you can just tell the car's just driving a little bit trickier than it was in the previous session. Another snap of oversteer on the exit. DRS open to the line. What is it going to be? I think it's enough for a top 4 finish, but not on the front row. It is P4, the bottom of the top 4. But Ricciardo, oh my god. Daniel Ricciardo on the front row. Russell, though, in P... Where has he come? Where have the 2 Mercs come from? Sainz has had a howler. He was right up there in Q1 and Q2. And where it really matters, he's down in P7 for this starting grid. Verstappen down in P9. He's had a bit of a mare there. Alonso really didn't get a representative lap time in. And Russell and Hamilton have come out of nowhere. Russell for the very surprising pole position. If it wasn't for him, 7 thousandths away was our teammate Daniel Ricciardo. He loves this circuit. He's on the front row, which means he has half a chance, if he can get a good enough exit, to maybe overtake Russell into turn 1. And Monaco being Monaco, that could be game over then, and you can control the race from there. Similar story for us. Can we jump Lando Norris on the same row as us? And then after that, as we saw in season 1, it might be quite difficult to make anything work from there. It is going to be a bit of a long, arduous process in this race, but that is Monaco. Let's go to the grid.
Formula One returns to Monte Carlo once again today, home to the world-famous Monte Carlo Casino that first opened in 1863. And of course, a certain road race first held in 1929. There's no greater an occasion, no more valuable a win than the Monaco Grand Prix. The prestigious Circuit de Monaco, then, is not all that dissimilar today to the layout that made its debut almost a century ago. It's 2 miles and 19 corners through the streets of Monte Carlo. And although the average lap speed of around 93 miles per hour is the lowest of the season, the tiny margins for error make it the natural habitat of the safety car. It's time to see how our drivers are stacking up after yesterday's exciting qualifying session. George Russell will begin today's event in pole position, and P2 goes to Daniel Ricciardo, a strong showing from the Australian. As we continue through the rest of the grid today, we have Norris, the owner driver, Hamilton, Leclerc, Sainz, Oscar Piastri, Verstappen, Fernando Alonso, Gasly, Bottas, Albon, Magnussen, Ocon, Sargent, Hulkenberg, Joe, Perez, Tsunoda, Stroll, and Liam Lawson. That's it then, it's time to go racing as we head down trackside for today's race.
I think this is going to be a highly anticipated lap one for a lot of Ricciardo fans watching out there. Those of you who are, enjoying the decision to sign Rick Bobby to our team, because here he is now. What did I say? Once he gets that focus up, and for the first time he was over 90 focus, 95 to be exact here at Monaco, and he's finally pulled out the goods. A bit more like his old self on the front row here for Monaco. And like I said, he's on the left, as am I. If he gets a good enough run, it'll be tough, but he could make a move on the outside of turn 1 to get into P1. We're going to try and do the same to Lando Norris. And then it's a case of just seeing how Monaco goes. Is there a chance to overtake? Strategy-wise, I think all of us will be doing a one-stop. So unless there's a safety car like there was in Season 1, strategy-wise, it may be tough to do anything, so this really could decide the entire race here. Most of us on mediums, Hamilton and Russell on hard, so that might work in our favour, for Ricciardo's favour, as we go to 5 red lights to the Monaco GP. Lights out, and we're underway. Ricciardo gets the start on Dreams. Russell slow into turn 1. We've locked up. We've nearly gone straight on. Oh, it's a disaster for us. It's an absolute disaster. We nearly crashed ourselves into turn 1, but Ricciardo is into P1, I'm pretty sure. We're down to P9, but Daniel Ricciardo leads a Formula 1 Grand Prix once again, and he leads at Monaco, of all places. He's already 1 second ahead of George Russell. He got a perfect start. I matched him. I got the same start he did. We both overtook our respective rivals on the right-hand side of us. The difference is he took turn 1 perfectly. I had an absolute mare, double lock-up for us, and we nearly crashed ourselves out of the race. Quite glad to still be in it as we now send it on our old teammate Oscar Piastri with a brilliant overtake up into P8, because we do have the car for it. We have a very strong car, and we're now going to need to use that strong car to overtake a load of others who we should be quicker than, but it's just a case of can we actually overtake them around this circuit? Because as we've gone on through the years with the F1 games, every year I feel like the AI, because they get better at defending, they get more aggressive, it gets harder and harder to actually make these, heroic moves at Monaco. But we'll try our best. Our car is looking that much quicker than, let's say, the Red Bulls and the Ferraris at least, that I think we have a chance. And even Mercedes, they're on hards. They may be quicker later in the race, but right now they're going to be pretty slow. But Ricciardo leads by 1.5 seconds to Russell, and it's because of this getaway. As we watch a replay, perfect launch for Ricciardo. Calm as you want into turn 1. He nailed the apex, and he's up into first place, and it's easy to see why. Russell just didn't get any traction off the line on the hard tyres. You could probably see it coming from a mile away, to be honest, with that tyre choice. And then for us, we got equally a good start. Lando got caught up being tucked in behind Russell, and then here, lock up on the front right, then the front left started locking up, and I'm pretty lucky not to have hit the wall, because this is my view from the front wing. Look how close we get to this wall here. That could have easily been a bit of front wing damage. If I'd locked up even harder, it could have been us straight on into the wall and saying I am so stupid because we would have been out of the Monaco GP on lap 1, turn 1. So we can count ourselves lucky there, but now we need to fight back, and fight back we shall as we go down the inside for the infamous RICCIARDO overtake on Leclerc. That was pretty sweet. That was pretty good. Leclerc caught napping a little bit, no contact made, sweet as you want, close to the wall, close to the Ferrari, but we make it. Time that to perfection there as we look backwards on board from Leclerc's shot there. So that was awesome. So we're up into P7 now on lap 5. So steady progress, 2 overtakes in 5 laps. That's pretty good for Monaco, I'd say. And now we're tucked up behind Max Verstappen, maybe looking to make a move out the tunnel, maybe. We're deploying plenty of battery, but we're just not going to be close enough, I feel, to make that dive like we did on Piastri. So instead we stick behind Verstappen. We get a good exit towards to back. Now we're right up the gearbox of the Red Bull in the dirty air, though. Slight bit of understeer, looking to try and wrestle this car as close as we can to the walls, as close as we can to the Red Bull. But alas, we're not close enough to make a move in RICCIARDO this time like we were with the Ferrari. But can we get the exit off the final corner? DRS here. Verstappen's got DRS as well, but we've got the better engine, and even with high wings, we go to the inside. Verstappen is going to pinch us. Bit of contact, as there always will be at turn 1 there, because it's so fine as the corner comes into itself. Verstappen, though, has to yield. He doesn't get the exit. We get the exit that we wanted off turn 1, and we're up into P6. That was a little bit sketchy, but I feel like when you're making some overtakes at Monaco, there is going to be a little bit of contact here and there, because the track is so narrow, these cars are so wide. It's going to happen. I think that was as clean as you could get into turn 1 with Max Verstappen at Monaco, to be honest. So we're up into P6. This is good progress. I think we really should be able to close up and overtake Sainz and Hamilton, and then the question mark will be about Norris, really, because I think he's going well. Russell could be overtaken later, but at the moment, Ricciardo on the other side of the garage, he's loving life. 2.7 seconds that was ahead of Russell, controlling, dominating this Monaco GP. This seems like it's going to be Ricciardo's time to shine finally on his return to Formula 1 as we look to maybe make a move on the Ferrari. We can't quite have the overspeed we needed to get the move on the inside of the Ferrari, and Sainz is annoying us a little bit. It's lap 10 now, so it's been 4 laps since I overtook Verstappen, and that's kind of been the story of this entire stint after I got Max. Was I'm getting close to Sainz, but I just can't make that move. We got close to turn 1. We're pretty much pushing him through as we get towards to back, but can't make a move here. Can we set something up at RICCIARDO? We're, oh my god, coming in so hot at swimming pool. You can clearly see it feels like we could get the move done at some point, but every lap I'm stuck behind Sainz. My tyre wear is going up higher than it should be in the turbulent, dirty air of the Ferrari. Lap 11 again, locking up. You know, you can clearly see the car's becoming harder and harder to drive and control and keep within the 1 second, keep within Sainz's DRS and keep the pressure on. And, you know, Verstappen is outside of 1 second right now on lap 13, but we still can't make the move. 2 laps later, we're still stuck behind Sainz, and that gap is closing. Verstappen is now nearly underneath 1 second to me. He is now under 1 second to me, and that's how slow Sainz is making us go in this first stint here. That even Hamilton on the hards is staying ahead of us by 1.8. He's looking all right, and we're just getting more and more frustrated. Massive amount of oversteer there at turn 1. Sainz, as he would do, is doing his best to hold me back, and it's absolutely wrecking my tyres. So lap 16, we're going to come in. This is a good 3 laps earlier than our recommended pit stop, but I just thought, look, the undercut here, I think it's going to be incredible because of how slow I'm going behind Sainz. I think I could gain at least a second on at least 1 flying lap compared to how slow Sainz was going there. And you saw it for yourselves. The amount of understeer I was getting to turn 1, the oversteer moments, the lockups. It was just classic, like, I'm just stuck in his dirty air. It's wrecking my tyres. We need to try something different. So we pulled the trigger. We've gone really early, and this may hurt me at the end of the race. I don't know how the tyre wear is going to be on hards, but if we're in clean air on the hard tyres at the end of the race, it may not matter. But right now, we need to go a head down on these fresh hards immediately. The grip levels are night and day to that old set of medium tyres. But the thing is, we need to get past this traffic. We've got Sonoda, the 2 Haas cars of Sargent and Magnussen, I think it is. Then ahead, you've got the Alpine of Ocon, McLaren of Bottas. We've got a lot of cars to try and clear. Look at the grip difference between us and Sonoda as we're now side by side in the tunnel. Oh, so close with Yuki. He didn't want to let off. We had to leave him a little bit of room to work with there. But we're committed to these overtakes as we pounce down the inside of Logan Sargent just before the Casino Square. Very close to the wall, very close to Sargent's car, but we had to make that move because we go purple first sector despite making that overtake. So that was so crucial because if we don't make the most of these laps right now, before Sainz comes in, before anyone else comes in, there was no point pitting this early. So we have to make the most of it. Purple second sector, overtake on Magnussen, bit of a big lunge. Had to compromise ourselves a little bit into swimming pool, so it won't be the quickest last sector, but still going well on the first 2, and that's maybe enough time to jump Carlos Sainz, I'm hoping, as we now gain on Ocon, lap 19. This is the scheduled pit stop lap, so I'm sure Sainz may be pitting on this lap as we go for the hairpin move on Ocon. Esteban does not want to give it up though, and the Alpine stays ahead of us. Ocon, is he a secret agent for Sainz today? Absolutely annoying the heck out of us, and we have to make the move later on, just before the tunnel, as we now close up to Bottas. Is he going to come in? No, so he's going to give us some DRS actually through the final corner. Great entry and exit through the final bend. There is Leclerc in the pits, Verstappen's in the pits, but no sign of Sainz yet, so he's gone on for one more lap. So we have one more lap of undercut on Carlos Sainz, but we're miles ahead of Verstappen and Leclerc, who are just coming out the pits then as we overtook Bottas. So that's a pretty good sign that we may jump Sainz, but we're now maybe pushing the limits a bit too much there. We got oh so close to the wall on the left, missed the apex through Casino Square, so we need to watch out for that, not overdo it, but at the same time still keep the pressure up and look to maybe overtake Alexander Albon, who is struggling now on these mediums. All these guys, they've gone so long on this one set of tyres as we once again go to the inside of the tunnel. I'll never get old. That's never going to get old. That's never going to get scary because the AI just don't seem to want to give up the position there. We had to lift off to make sure we made that overtake and didn't make any contact with Albon. As we go through to back, Ricciardo now is in from the lead. Russell's continued on then on the hards. Hamilton will as well, I assume, maybe, because both Mercs were on the hards, or I think maybe one of them's come in at least. Ricciardo, though, onto his set of hard tyres. That'll be interesting to see how the pace is for Mercedes on the mediums, because they're the only team that are going to be on the mediums at the end of this race. And there we go, into turn 1. Are we going to jump Ricciardo here? Ricciardo was leading the race, remember, and we've now just got ahead of him. Forget Hamilton, forget Sainz. We've jumped Ricciardo, our own teammate, into a net P1 because Russell is going to come in. We know he's going to come in probably on this next lap. So we're ahead of Ricciardo now, but he's on fresher hard tyres. They need to heat up a little bit, but we've been on our hards compared to Ricciardo for 5 laps. That's quite a difference here. And we just know also, to be fair, how quick Ricciardo was throughout this entire race. And he's looking pretty damn quick here as he gets a beautiful exit through into the tunnel. He's gaining on us, and of course we're not going to put up too much of a fight on Ricciardo as he sends it to the inside. I can't afford to make contact with him. He wasn't even in our race in the first place. I could have fought that a lot harder, but I thought it's not my place to fight him that hard. He was well away in P1. I've managed to jump him there with the undercut, but really I was looking just to get Hamilton, Norris and Sainz, which we've done. So although I did want to try and stay in first place, Ricciardo had so much overspeed out the tunnel that I thought, look, if we're going to fight him into the chicane, remember last season where we had contact with Hamilton and broke our floor at that chicane? I just thought better to let him through. He's been dominating this one. He deserves this one, and he's into P1 again. We're P2 as we jump Russell as well. So it's a 1-2 now for the team. On lap 23 though, Hamilton is coming at us at a rate of knots. Big moment of oversteer for us as the tyre wear kicks in for us. Hamilton on the outside at Mirabeau. We're going to be side by side into the hairpin. This is not going to end well as we go round the outside. Lewis squeezes us. Contact made again with Hamilton at the Monaco GP, and for the second season in a row, Hamilton gives us some floor damage at Monaco. some things never change. This time it was at the hairpin. Last season it was at this corner at the chicane. As Hamilton again is going for that move. We defend. He cuts the corner for 2 seasons in a row at that same place. I thought, no, I'm not having this. I'm going back down the inside at back. We're going to squeeze him out. Very, very fine stuff. Getting the elbows out, as we have to do to get back into second place. But this was the replay. Massive mistake and moment from me, losing the back end. Fair play to Hamilton. Good move around the outside of Mirabeau. But then the hairpin here, he just went very deep and gave us no room to work with. And we were still there. So unlike when we went side by side with Ocon, he squeezed this so much that we got some damage. And to be fair, he might have got damage himself on that exit just before the tunnel because he clouted the wall pretty hard. And then for a second season in a row, Hamilton tries to make a move on the outside. We've defended that amazingly, and Hamilton's just cut the corner to continue the fight, basically. You know, at some point, you just have to back out of it, but Hamilton refused to do so. We then go back down the inside, get the elbows out, and kind of pay back the favour of him cutting the corner. So, a bit of a tetchy, frosty fight, I'll admit, but like I said earlier, I don't think you're going to get side-by-sides at Monaco without a little bit of contact here and there. But we've now gone all the way to the last lap of the Grand Prix because, you know, for all the fighting we just saw, it is Monaco. Nothing else really happened in this race in the second stint. We're in P2. We've actually managed to pull away 5 seconds to Hamilton because I think he also has damage himself. So it's been a very calm P2 for us. But enough about me because this is the man of the hour. This is the man of the episode. Daniel Ricciardo, returning to Formula 1 this season, comes around the final corner to win the Monaco Grand Prix in Season 2. Daniel Ricciardo is a race winner once again in Formula 1. What an insane race for him. What an insane race for the team, though. I did not think after turn 1 I was going to be here on the podium, let alone the P2, to get the 1-2 for AAR at the Monaco GP. What a race weekend. And, you know, like I was saying, we have to make the most of this quick car. And oh boy, did we make the most of this quick car today. 1-2, maximum points you could have hoped for. Absolutely insane. But Ricciardo, the win at Monaco. Hey, unbelievable.
You can't fault the performance on the track today. A well-deserved victory. Anthony Davidson, how do you think they were able to set themselves apart today?
I feel like consistency was probably the key today. There's being quick, and then there's being quick lap after lap after lap. If you can do that, you can capitalise on other people's errors without making many of your own. And that's an approach that can push you a long way up the field.
Here comes your top 3 making their way down to the podium for what can only be described as a fantastic day for Formula 1.
Seeing this man on the top step of the Monaco Grand Prix just looks correct, and it's even better in our overalls here in Season 2. The 1-2 though as well, incredible. That undercut was unbelievable. We jumped Sainz, Norris, Hamilton, Russell as well. It was the most worldy undercut ever, and kind of shows really the real pace that this car had. And no wonder Ricciardo was dominating by multiple seconds over Russell in the first stint, and then by the end of it was leading by like 18 seconds because I was hobbling around with my damaged car. But even my damaged car got 5 seconds on Hamilton, who had his own damage and was holding back everyone. So incredibly chaotic Monaco GP, but it turns out to be a fantastic one. 1-2. For us in the championship, that's going to be the lead now by 2 points on Lando Norris, 6 points ahead of Carlos Sainz. Ricciardo now is in the top 7 in the championship. He's ahead of Leclerc and Verstappen in the standings. That's incredible stuff for him. And hopefully this is the kickstart for his season. He can just continue to be really quick, really focused. And for us in the championship, we've gone from P4 to P1, 8 points ahead of Red Bull, 9 of Ferrari. It's still super close though. You know, 17 points covering the top 4 is ridiculous. So it's still game on. And like I said, I truly believe at some point, whether it's next episode or in 3 episodes time, I think a lot of the AI teams will start to leapfrog us, and we may have a harder time at getting these kind of results. So we need to just make the most of it, book in all these results where we can, get all the points, and then try and control the championship from there is my kind of game plan in my head. But guys, if you've enjoyed this incredible Monaco GP with Daniel Ricciardo stepping back onto the top step of the podium, then be sure to hit that like button. Let me know what you thought in the comments below. If you're around here, then do get subscribed for weekly Formula 1 content. I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.